Welcome to today's deep dive. If you are joining us, our mission today is really to just shortcut your journey to being well informed. And we have a genuinely fascinating document to unpack today.
Yeah, it really is. It's dense, but so good.
Right. It's from April 12, 2026, and it's titled The Garden and the Season.
Hmm.
And the document includes this incredible thematic map, like a blueprint, right, in Figure 1.
The visual is super
It
helpful.
is. It outlines these 6 distinct nodes. So we've got cultivating the inner garden, every yes is a no, choices deform you, disappointment trains you, energy is contagious, and finally, this window closes.
I mean, just reading those titles kind of hits you, right?
Yeah.
Because they all flow toward this one central, unavoidable question, which is simply who you are,
Yes,
who you actually are.
exactly. And I think we need to set the stage right away and let you know that this deep dive, it's not about productivity hacks. We're not optimizing your inbox today.
Definitely not. We're really examining the private, interior landscape of our lives.
Mhm.
The underlying premise here is that this private landscape inevitably shapes your public reality. You just can't separate the two.
No, you really can't. And to understand how all these themes connect, we first have to define what this garden actually is. We have to kind of move past those superficial metrics of success we usually obsess over.
Right, the stuff everyone else sees.
Exactly. So the text introduces this African proverb that I just love. Knowledge is a garden. If it isn't cultivated, it can't be harvested.
Oh, wow.
It sounds simple, like standard farming advice, but it's really challenging us.
It really is. And it pairs perfectly with that distinction Thomas Paine made. He pointed out that reputation is what men and women think of us, right? It's a performance. It's the public record.
The PR campaign of your life.
Totally. But character is what God and angels know of us. It's the stuff that persists in the dark when literally nobody is watching.
Right, when the applause stops. Which brings up the story of Tony Dungy and Chuck Knoll mentioned in the document. Dungy, before he became this legendary coach, he was actually wandering a bit.
Oh, really? I didn't
Huh.
know that part of his background.
Yeah, he worked various corporate jobs, trying out different paths. But Knoll essentially taught him that a career doesn't define who you are. Vocation should really just be the overflow of a garden you've already tended to.
Wow. Vocation is overflow. That's a completely different paradigm.
Okay, let's unpack this because I think a modern analogy helps here. Reputation is kind of like your LinkedIn profile.
No, I love that. Manicured.
Heavily manicured, totally curated, but character is what you actually do when the Wi-Fi goes down and nobody is watching. Who are you then?
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, our culture is constantly asking, what do you do? We use it as a proxy for who are you?
All the time. First question at every party.
Exactly. But this source material demands we completely reverse that order. Identity has to come before vocation. You have to secure the soil before you can grow anything of value.
Right, the soil of character. But if our character is the soil we must cultivate, how do we choose what actually gets planted there?
That's the hard part.
Because we have to understand the severe cost of our commitments.
Mm.
It's a brutal economy.
It really is the brutal economics of yes. Oliver Berkman brings in this etymology lesson via George Raveling that just blew my mind.
Oh, about the word decide.
Yes, the Latin root decider. It literally means to cut off.
To cut off. Wow.
Yeah, so every time you make a decision, you aren't just adding something to your plate. Every decision is an act of elimination. You are severing other possibilities.
That reframes everything, doesn't it? Because James Clear talks about this concept of daily trade-offs. The cost of a bad yes isn't just the time it takes to do the thing.
Right. It's not just the 2 hours of a pointless meeting.
Exactly. It's the untended plot left behind. It's what could have grown in that space if you had planted something meaningful instead.
And that leads into this incredibly striking visual from the book This Is Strategy. They argue that life isn't a Lego set.
Lego set.
Yeah. You know how with Legos you can snap pieces apart, rebuild them perfectly, swap out a blue block for a red one, and the system is fine.
Sure, yeah, reversible.
Right. But life isn't like that. Life is a Hot Wheels car.
Oh, okay.
If you try to pry apart a die-cast Hot Wheels car to change the seats, the sheer act of disassembling it actually deforms the metal parts.
Oh, wow. You bend the chassis.
Exactly. The system is irreversible. You can't step in the same river twice because the footprint you leave changes both you and the river.
Okay, wait, I have to push back on this a little. Isn't that incredibly paralyzing?
How do you mean?
Well, if every single choice permanently deforms the parts, how do you, or I, or anyone listening, ever confidently say yes to anything? Like, aren't you just terrified you're ruining the car?
It sounds scary, for sure. But it's really not meant to be pessimism. It's just honest accounting.
Honest accounting.
Yeah. The goal isn't to freeze in place and do nothing. The goal is to stop living by default, to stop letting circumstances dictate your yes. And Raveling gives this great prompt to help with this.
What's the prompt?
He challenges you to identify one yes in your life right now that wasn't a real choice, something that was just a drift. You just sort of ended up doing it.
Oh, man, I think we all have at least 5 of those right now.
Right. So you find that drift and you cut it off, you reclaim that soil.
Reclaim the soil. I love that. But here's the thing. Since choices are irreversible, and we definitely will make mistakes, how do we handle the inevitable storms in our garden?
Because the weather will turn.
Oh, it always does. And how does our internal weather affect the people around us? This brings up the story of Os Hillman, which is just agonizingly relatable.
It's so painful to read.
So he shoots a 71 to lead a major golf tournament. He is playing out of his mind.
A literal career highlight.
Right. And then he gets disqualified. Not for cheating, not for a bad shot, but because he forgot to sign his scorecard.
Oh, just a pure administrative error?
Exactly. So he has this brutal 3-hour drive home alone in his car, just sitting with this massive disappointment.
And that's where the real test happens. Because Hillman's response is what we need to look at. He didn't just spiritually bypass it, pretend he wasn't devastated.
Right.
But he also didn't catastrophize. He actively right-sized the disappointment.
How did he do that?
Well, he used Romans 8.28, trusting that the details of our lives are woven together for good. But on a really practical level, he also just remembered that he was healthy. He was healthy enough to walk outside and enjoy nature and play the sport. He shifted his focus to the bigger picture.
That's incredible perspective. It reminds me of Isabel Allende's wisdom. She talks about how we all have these unsuspected reserves of strength that only emerge under pressure.
Yeah, you don't know it's there until the storm hits.
Exactly. And Samuel Beckett's famous mantra, right? Ever tried, ever fail, no matter. Try again, fail better.
Fail better. I love that. And we have to talk about shifting the focus from just absorbing that bad weather to what happens when we create the weather.
Oh, yes. This is huge.
Because Ryan Holiday points out that your kids or your spouse, they feel what you actually broadcast, not what you intend to broadcast.
If you come home stressed, you can't fake it. They feel it.
Right. If you're stressed, the house is stressed. And there's this book, The Magic of Thinking Big, which advises using positive language to literally shape reality. The phrase they use is, build castles, don't dig graves.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for you listening right now. Think about the room you walked into this morning, the kitchen, your office, wherever. What kind of energy did you carry in? Were you building a castle or were you digging a grave?
That is such a challenging question because we leak our internal weather onto everyone around us.
We really do. Okay, so we've prepped the soil, we've made the hard choices, the cuts, we've managed the weather. But what is the urgency of all this?
Yeah, why does it matter right now?
Exactly. Because there's a ticking clock. The harvest has a strict, unannounced deadline.
This is the hardest note in the whole document, really. Bill Perkins brings this up, and it's sobering. He says that the version of you who can hike that mountain or get down on the floor and play with young kids, that version of you has an expiration date.
Wow, that hits hard.
It does. Windows of opportunity, they open and they close, and usually they don't give you any sort of announcement.
No warning at all. Which is why George Raveling issues this really concrete challenge. He says to pick a season of life that's happening right now, or maybe one that's closing soon.
Okay.
Name one specific experience that belongs in that season and put a date on it. Schedule it.
Because if you don't schedule it, the window shuts. Octavio Paz has this quote that feels like both a challenge and a permission slip. Deserve your dream.
Deserve your dream.
You have to step up and claim it while the door is open.
Yeah.
But, even if you feel like you've missed out, Pharrell Williams actually has this great defiant kind of optimism about it.
What does he say?
He says, there's a key for every door, and if you can't find it, you can make one.
Oh, I love that. Make your own key.
Yeah. You aren't helpless just because time is passing.
And really, the ultimate goal of all this cultivation, Anthony de Mello has this parable about the master making himself unnecessary.
Right.
The point of all this isn't to constantly need guidance. The goal is to wake up and become a self-sustaining garden, to do the work yourself.
To internalize it,
Yeah.
exactly.
So what does this all mean for you listening? I want to directly challenge you right now. Don't just intellectually nod along and agree with this.
Right. Don't just think, oh, that's a nice thought.
Exactly. Actually, look at your calendar today. Pick that experience Raveling suggested and schedule it. Put a date on it before the window shuts.
It's so vital, because if we bring everything full circle, there's a final African proverb from the text that ties it all together beautifully. To go fast, go alone. To go far, go together.
Go together.
Right, because the inner life and the outer life, they are deeply, inextricably connected. Your character is built in private.
Yeah.
You do the hard work in the dark.
Yeah.
But the harvest, the energy you bring to the room, those closed windows, the shared experiences, all of that happens in relationship. The garden isn't just for the gardener.
It feeds everyone else.
Exactly.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over today. If every yes is a no, and your garden's harvest ultimately feeds the people around you, take a hard look at how you spent your time yesterday. Whose garden are you actually watering, and who is currently sitting in the shade of the weeds you've ignored? Think about it.